I'll make something clear. I was born in 1960. I'm 65 this year. 65. I've had a hell of a life. One you wouldn't even dare to take. Not one of you out there watching me right now would even dare to follow my footsteps. You want to get real? Then be down to earth. Then be real with yourself. Honesty is the best policy. Creating a reputation by word of mouth is the most powerful tool on earth. Having a relationship with everybody. Taking everyone on face value or using any kind of marketing strategy is insane. Judgmental competitive behavior. The way people are today, actors, zombies, robots, post-transhumans, the zombie apocalypse, the body snatching virus worldwide, in divine syndromes, recorded all over the world, mental disorders, D&D going through the roof, stress and anxiety, suicide rates, judgmental competitive behavior, actors all over social media platform, socially engineered. People don't even know what spirituality is anymore. Mental telepathy, ESP, remote viewing, telekinesis, levitation, spoon bending, clock winding, folding space and time with deja vu to predict the future and prevent what's going to happen. No one's got any idea. They're all living in their mind with grammar, with artificial intelligence, evolution mutation set up by atheism, in their consciousness, a mental event, a mental process, an illusion imagination by the Rockefellers, into the conscious singularity by WF, mentality. Everyone's living in their mind with grammar and thinks they're something special like an actor. All they talk about is their own opinions and obsessed with their own voices in their own mind. That's been ultimately designed for extinction. To come to the conclusion with reasoning is the age of nefarious. It's five senses. It's consciousness. It's mentality. People live in their mind. They have amnesia, trapped in a reincarnation trap. They don't believe in it. They have amnesia. How would they know any better? They can only use up to 15% of their brain worldwide. In the highest IQ in the world, we use 100%. We're the most avoided. The world's back to front on reverse psychology engineering. In 98.7% anti-clockwise, they're bolted in your DNA. And DNA doesn't lie. It's a book of life. DNA doesn't lie. Everybody depends on it. Living in denial. 77% of Americans are now born with chronic diseases because they live in denial. From generation to generation. Idiots. Brain dead stupid. Brainwashed to the shithouse. They can only use 7 to 15% of the brain. They can't use their brain anymore. When we use 100%, you'd want to try and deal with the rest of the world. You'd want to be in our shoes. We're the last humans being born on Earth, declared with DNA. The last ones that can use our genetic process and our genetic memory. I told my mum about the worst moment in her life in 1945 World War II when I was 5 years old. 5 years old. 15 years before I was born. When I was 5, when I grew up in this world, on the streets, we had a lot of people with mental telepathy, ESP, remote viewing, telekinesis. There was plenty. And plenty knew about the reincarnation trap, and plenty kept coming back. That wasn't a secret in the 60s and the 70s. Look at the world today. From 3 billion people to 8.2 billion and social media platform, and there is no such people today. They're just actors and mouthpieces all over the world. They do not have their spirituality. They sold out. No matter what comes out of their mouth, they sold out their spirituality and all their supernatural power. The 24th chromosome is in dormancy. The second chromosome, the Y chromosome, the 24 is in dormancy. You can see it in cellular data research, but it's not working. And 98.7% of the population has got 23 chromosomes in a series of 6 in their DNA. Only 1.3% is still in the 24th chromosome in a series of 9 in their DNA, with the voltage reliability clockwise 24 hours a day, no metal sores, no defects, while the rest of the world's riddled with them. 600 to 7,000 defected genes in every single Westerner in the world, and they live in denial. Look at their selections. Look at their biology in their DNA. They get younger all the time and mutate as declared by FDA and the top scholars in the world. They live in denial, declared in 2003. Total denial. They were told in 99 they're crazy and they're losing their six senses, their 27 biofields. Going into six mass extinctions, stripping the sixth sense for the sixth time. Your sixth sense is spirituality. You live in a five sense world in mentality. You live in your mind. And you don't know what you're doing in your mind because you can only use up to 15% of your brain. When you think outside the mind, you can use 100%. You can see that in the movie Limitless. We developed the drug. The most powerful true serum enlightenment drug in the world. On every test and center across Australia. In the Star Champion Corps, go look yourself. It caused the biggest mental health research a DNA study ever done. And it leads to the book of life. The cure of the human condition that's going to save humanity with the book Freedom by Jeremy McGivers. And 16,000 top scholars with Nobel Prize winners on the same page in the biggest merge in human history. And it's my DNA in 2008 that leads this. And I'm suppressed the most. I have the most authentic DNA in the world. The most divine intervention, most divine power to command nature in my DNA, in my genetic memory, in my genetic process. And people think I'm a freak of nature when in fact they're mentally insane. I'm the most rejected human being on earth, yet I'm the most authentic in a 34-year study done. The most powerful DNA in the world. Primordial being number one worldwide in the biggest study ever done. Imagine being in my shoes. Imagine being in my shoes. Imagine being in my shoes. And I'm the only one left. There's only 130 of us left in the Star Champion Corps in the Gatekeeper Report. Go take a look with your own two eyes. There's only 130 of us left in the world, in the biggest study ever done. We are the elect, warned about in the Bible, the only ones that was never deceived. They never went into a delusional state with delusional parasitosis. And we now know that those parasites are 98.7% of the population with mental disorders with a hostile entity in their mind. Their voices in their mind. Ultimately designed from these things they gave consent to. No matter what comes out of their mouth. They can say what they like. They've got mental disorders and defects going through the roof. With voices in their mind that they give consent to. That controls your biofields and their biological system. No matter what comes out of their mouth. They gave consent to the voices in their mind. To believe in their own truth when they're fairers. To come to their own conclusion with reasoning in 5 cents in negative fields. They're not human anymore. They're transhumans. No matter what comes out of their fucking mouth. They're just a mouthpiece. They haven't got mental telepathy, ESP, remote and telekinesis, levitation, spoon bending, clock winding, folding space and time with deja vu, and predict the future, prevent what's going to happen. Well, here you go. That's become solid evidence that I can. You can now read this book and realise everything I predicted's unfolded perfectly. So I predict the future perfectly. And I'm never wrong. According to the biggest think tank in the world and 7 study reports and mastermind reports, I'm never fucking wrong. I can do things no one else can. I designed laboratory glass that no scientist thought of that took a 14-hour process down 3.5. When they had direction microphones me and surveillance, 100% surveillance, I could feel the truth with remote viewing and mental telepathy and ESP and deja vu and predict the future and prevent what's going to happen. And they discovered that on direction microphones. And when they went in the courtroom to put pen to paper with my name on it, I could feel it and I could see it and I could stop it immediately. And it blew their mind away. I stand an Indian number in such a way that the X-ray machine that came out 5 years later, I did this in 84. In 89, the X-ray machine came out and could not detect it. I went on a mastermind report, RSVP list, research succeed to perfection, on the front page paper in 1992, as a King Vice on the front page of the Courier Mail in Brisbane in 1992. In 1994, was on 14 current affairs shows, as a mastermind of loopholes of laws and a mastermind manipulation, and I could unravel the whole system as it's set up on manipulation on UN chaos under the law and order documents for educational systems of your body cells going corruption illusion during the daytime. Okay, and you have 2 molecules of mentality and 130 nucleoside molecules, genetic repair kit, you're born with it, and yours is perfect from 0 to 7. And you can mastermind a computer game between 3 and 7. And then you go to school to be mentally institutionalized by the boogeyman, the monster in the bed. Then you come out of school when you're 16, 18 and think your parents are dinosaurs as you become a homotech robot. And you discredit your parents and then you reject the genetic process with all your ancestors and tools, with all your spirituality, right, of supernatural power. Right, so you reject your own genetic process as you become a homotech idiot and think you're special in IQ from generation to generation, where you normalize what's more yesterday non-stop and go through the same twisting, revolving door to normalise what's more yesterday. And then you think you're normal today when you do this from generation to generation. And you think you're special in the world. And the first thing you do is lie to your kids about the boogeyman, the monster in the bed, because a kid can feel it. Okay? And you're so brain dead stupid that Bruce Lee can mastermind by 24 and fight 12 people back karate blindfolded and block every punch 7 times faster than you think critically in your conscious mind that you're developed into. And because you're such a robot and you can't feel the truth and feel the difference between right, wrong, good, and evil, you come to your own conclusion with reasoning in your mind. So by the time you're 24, an Australian comes to the door, the ones that rape your kids in the Royal Commission in Australia have been paid out for 23 years. The ones that take your kids from your parents, going to home and get raped and bashed, becomes prisoners and prostitutes later, are the ones that rape your kids, right? That's the cops and politicians, pastors, preachers and teachers. The ones you trust the most are the ones that rape your kids. The least expected person in the world could be your best friend, your best uncle. They'll rape kids for 30 years and you wouldn't know. They're the best liars in the world to pretend to be actors, right? Pastors and preachers and teachers that rapes your kids in the Royal Commission for 23 years have been paying out. Because we unearthed this. We unearthed the kind of disruptive behaviour by bringing down the highest death time Yankee Gale and violence in 30 years in Australia. My arresting officer commends me and retires the police force after watching me for 10 years and doing things like this. We put the biggest networks together and stop violence, gang killing, drug deaths and domestic violence to the lowest in 30 years. From the streets with a true serum called bread manna in the Bible. The most powerful true serum and love serum in the world. It brings you back in your primal state. You can see in the movie Limits, use 100% of your brain. And when we've done this, my product was in every testing centre across Australia that caused the adverse effects of the most unbelievable thing that caused the biggest Royal Commission paying out for 23 years, stolen generation of poverty, being paid out for $250 billion today. And the biggest amount research and DNA study ever done. Okay, the most powerful confirmation on earth. And I stood against a goddamn system that you support every day, and then you put tickets on yourself, and you're a fucking credit thief and a liar. That's all you are, actors out there, American credit thieves and liars and actors. That steals credit from us. Lying, filthy reptilian mentality. All liars steal contents from everybody, and credit thieves and liars about themselves. Always putting tickets on themselves and all about themselves. And they've done nothing for society except for support bail and supporting affairs every day. And they still do every day with every decision they make. With radio waves that controls their reality in their mentality. And they can no longer use their natural process or their natural abilities. They can't even use their natural selection. And they have no faith in their own biological genes to use their natural selection. Which is amazing. They can't use their natural genetic massacres. They have no faith within themselves. In their own body, in their own DNA. With their own genetic process. As they're trapped in amnesia. In a reincarnation trap. With psychology and their grammar. Back to front. On reverse psychology, justify what they believe in. And that's all they got. They got an IQ that only makes them good at what they do. But in fact, not intelligent. They can only use 7 to 10% of their brain in every single Westerner. They're dysfunctional, psychological creatures living in mentality and got no spirituality at all. All talk, no action. That's what they are. You go home with these people and spend 5 weeks with a person, you'll know a real person in 5 weeks when you live with them, right? Than your best friends in 10 years. Because they're all actors. And that's when you learn about people, about skeletons behind closed doors. You can't feel the truth anymore. Well, I can feel the truth. I don't follow my mind. So like Bruce Lee, I can respond 7 times faster than you think. In your mind, blindfolded. You understand that? Because I use my third eye, the sixth sense, with dimensional thinking. And I know every angelic being that controls you when you go to school. You know, we can see the shadows, the angelic beings, right? Some of the kids, right back in the old days, we could see the shadows. Our imagination didn't run wild where the boogeyman come. And then my parents would come in and say, it's just a dream, go back to sleep. And the boogeyman would be right over the top of her. Like you see in that kid in the restaurant. He can see the boogeyman, but nobody else can because the boogeyman controls everybody. Like Keanu Reeves in The Matrix. The boogeyman controls everybody else in the world. Like the movie Limitless. Like the movement Darn Web. The boogeyman controls every human being on earth. You can see that in the Green Mile movie, where the black fella represents Christ with the holy breath of life. And he pulls an affair as the boogeyman right out of Tom Hanks, the best person in the world. And the boogeyman, white man crazy, white man God's crazy, white man dies prematurely by the time he's 80. Thinks he's something special with IQ behaviour, but he doesn't even know what he's doing. He thinks he does, he's got no fucking idea. He's artificial intelligence. He's a homotech robot. He's a transhuman since 1960, and he lives in denial about it. Worldwide, the whole lot. He's got no fucking idea what he's doing with his IQ. and his own natural selection, with all the things he select and consume. He's riddled with parasites, declared in 2003, and parasites at 98.7% with voltage reliability anti-clockwise, and their body cells gain corrosion during the daytime, and they can only be at night time for 3.5 hours. 3.5 hours at night time. And they're the species you follow. They're the ones you mentally resonate with, because you got no codependent power. You have got no relationships in real life. You got no soulmates and no relationships with codependent power. You just got things that are convenient for you, and you mentally resonate with people, and you find fake friends on social media platform with fake love and synthetic love and catfish and liars and sitting on apps all day and playing with your dick on sex apps and gaming, and that's all you do. Mentally insane, sitting on a screen all day with radio waves that control you, with principality in the pound the air that's got everyone by the balls, and they gave consent and they don't believe in it. They're a species in denial. They have amnesia. How the fuck would they know? They can't use 85 to 93% of the brain. Fucking idiots all over the world. Artificial human beings that don't care anymore because they can't feel anymore. They can only use 1% to 5% of their aura, which means they can't feel the truth because they've got no aura. They have no spirituality. They've only got mentality. They're only actors around the world. No matter what comes out of their mouth, no matter what they say, there is species in denial worldwide, and every person on the screen is the worst mental disorders and defects that lives in a comfort zone and get high and they're supplied with dopamines and artificial intelligence because that's what they love the most. Creative thieves and liars. Content thieves. Every person mentally resonates with content thieves. Look at their platforms, they're content thieves, and they give out their opinions, and all they care about is themselves. And that's the Westerners who follow their own forefathers' footsteps in their DNA, the 23rd chromosome, the seed of the dragon. They did not follow the woman's seed of the 24th chromosome. It's a dormancy. So it's 27 of the fields. They have 32 senses. They have no dimensional thinking, no remote viewing, no mental telepathy, no ESP, no deja vu to predict the future and prevent what's going to happen. When they have deja vu, they're in the affliction point of no return because they're back to front on reverse psychology engineering, anti-clockwise. They can't think straight. They can only think backwards. They can't think forwards. They can't think with deja vu and predict the future. They cannot see forwards. They cannot use remote viewing and think forward. They can only think backwards. So obvious, it's not funny. And when we teach the great resurrection of the crossover, they don't even care. They're trapped so deep in their mind that they're beyond the point of return. They are beyond the point of return in majority. And most people, it's going to go in the abyss, in the sixth mass extinction, stripping the sixth sense for the sixth time. And that's what you warned about in 99. But you didn't care. You're a species in denial and went banging screens 8 hours a day in a 5 sense world, in your consciousness, in the mental event, in the mental process, in illusion imagination, with a wild imagination. You don't even know the boogeyman anymore because he controls you. You gave him consent, and it's just a personality in your mind. Christ's consciousness is a personality. That sounds heavily and will tell you whatever you want to believe in your own comfort zone, and you've been a comfort zone, and your body starts to corrupt illusion during the daytime. And Americans have the worst DNA, and there's not one mastermind left in America with a voltage reliability clockwise. Not one. Only 2 in Europe, Mastermind, Shiying and Winoff, and they're the only ones left in Europe and America. There's no other. They come from the indigenous people, Shula Mastermind, monks and Buddhists, and people in the streets and DNA in the biggest study ever done. We have the most moral compassion on the streets. We take a shirt off our back from our friends, and we have dimensional thinking. And dimensional thinking remote viewing has gone amongst social media platform people and normal civilizations. The ones that live in a screen and book smart education and live in their mind. And that's every person on social media platform that's only an actor because they act for someone else in a reincarnation trap. They're trapped with amnesia in a reincarnation trap and do what they're told. They do what they're told. The voice in the mind controls them because they give the voice in the mind consent. They only believe in their own truth, manifest their own truth, and come to their own conclusion with reasoning, trapped inside their mind with a personality, ultimately designed for human extinction, with radio waves and principality in the pound the air that they give consent to in a 5 sense world. In their mentality, not in their spirituality. They don't even know. They have amnesia to the shithouse. They can't use their genetic process and their genetic memory with their ancestor tools. And we're the last ones in the world that can. And we get avoided the most. But we're the only ones that can save you. We're the ones that can save you and resurrect you back in your primordial state, in your spirituality, in your celestial primordial state, in your primordial being, and not trapped in a personality, in a mentality, but control your vessel from the outside in. You know, I didn't go to school to be a robot, right? I stayed on the streets, became the biggest mastermind in the fucking world by getting away from you fucking lot. All you fucking robots at school and sitting on a screen all day, all you fucking artificial human beings that thinks you're intelligent when you're not. You're a fucking idiot. You're nothing but fucking idiots and godless small creatures all over the earth. You got no fucking aura. You got no spirituality. You got nothing but mentality and the gravity you depend on to justify what you believe in. You're fucking cops and politicians and your whole fucking system and your schooling education, your pastors, preachers, Christians and New Age are all the fucking same. All fucking robots. All fucking actors. And act for someone else because they cannot master their own mind and use 100% of their brain. So if they're not the master of their own mind, choose 100% of the brain, then they're not in charge of their own vessel. Because they gave consent to someone else to master their mind, and they only believe in their mind, and that's their master in their mind. That's their master. They gave consent to in their mind. So their mind controls them. Because they gave consent to the voice of mind to believe in their own truth, manifest their own truth, and come to their own conclusion with reasoning, which is nefarious. And nefarious has got everyone by the balls. And I can promise you that. We know that with DNA studies done, and DNA don't lie. A spiritual person has an aura that's perfect clockwise, 24 hours a day. No mental disorders, no DNA defects. Everybody else does. No mental disorders and no gene defects, and everybody else does. Natural selection took place. The natural selection chose people like the 212 phenomenon, and people woke up from amnesia and the reincarnation trap, while the rest never did, no matter what they say. But that's when we took over the human vessels. That's when we came back and took over the personality and the mentality. That's when we possessed the vessel and took charge of these vessels, right? These vessels were brought into this world for a reason, and they left their mark on earth, and they were designed to do that. And then in 212, we took over the vessel, and they went through a massive transformation for 3.5 years to get out of the mind. The mind died. Kim so-called Christensen died in 2012. He was told he was going to die when I took over his vessel, because he had no idea who he was. He was trapped in his mind and personality. He was trapped in mentality. But he was put through a path and left his mark on earth for a reason. But then I took over. I took his vessel, I possessed his vessel. He died. He was clinically dead for 23 minutes. He was paralyzed from his neck down, could never walk in. I got up and walked out. I beat the death experience. Okay, with the most powerful confirmation with DNA studies done. I resurrect. I know resurrection. Okay, I come to teach the resurrection of humanity, and I'm the only one of a kind that can. The only one on earth that teaches the resurrection in 40 days to cross over and go through a transformation for 3.5 years where you get your genetic memory back. Your genetic ancestors comes to you out of the blue, like you see in the movie Limitless, with sevenfold wisdom and knowledge. And I bring it back. I bring you back in your primordial state, back in your celestial being, back in your innocence, and take you out of the vessel, out of your personality, out of the mentality, out of the reincarnation trap. I break you free from amnesia, so you start to go back in your primordial state, back in your innocence, back in your celestial primordial state. And then you go through a 3.5 year process where you access the genetic memory, and things come to you out of the blue with the universal language and a universal connection with the relationship. A codependent relationship was coded in your EMP pulse, in the intuitive codependent power, and you must have an integrated, intuitive, codependent relationship. Without that, you're gone. And you can only do it with your sixth sense, to think outside the mind, dimensional thinking with a picture that tells you 1,000 words are going to lie to you. The light bulb idea, the picture that tells you 1,000 words that cannot lie to you, because everything else in this world does. Everything in your mind and everything in this world is anti-clockwise, and it lies to you, to the shithouse, and everybody does. In their own belief system, in their own narrative, in their own perception. And they're all psychological, judgmental, competitive creatures worldwide They cannot think straight. They cannot think outside the mind. Christ said the mind does not know what you're doing. When you're living in your mind, you're dead weight. You don't come alive till you cross over. 10 times more life, 10 times more love, 10 times more frequencies, 10 times more power, 10 times more clarification, and you never get it wrong again. You can't be trapped inside your mind. You take the red pill, you go across every dimensional field and stick your head through the light in the tunnel, as Plato describes in 15 books. And trust me, once you stick your head through the light in the tunnel, you'll never go back. You can't go back. You're saved. From that moment, you're saved. From that moment, you go through judgment. And you can do it in a 40-day fast, where you go back and revise your perception, and you go through a process where you break free from the natural selection, the unnatural selection that you make. In 40 days, you stop your unnatural selection, and then you cross over to natural selection. It happens automatically, right? You start to select differently with your spirituality, right? You start to think instinctively and not mentally and psychologically with the voice of mind that tell you do it, and don't do it, and give you 5 reasons why you shouldn't, and it's only your personality, and you break free from it, and then you discover who you are. For the first time, you see things you've never seen before in your life. You feel things you never felt. You understand things you never felt, and it makes sense to you, and you relate to it, because it's a quantum mechanic of a relationship, and it's your biofields, your biosenses, and you start feeling it. You feel your body cells on fire, and Jacob's ladder, the ship in the spine. Jacob's ladder, the ship in the spine, the Neuralink, the tree of life. You start feeling your gut, feeling survival mode, the chakra, the very self-preparation mode for life. You start to see things for your third eye in meditation with Winoff, who's won a Nobel Prize without a credential to recreate the second degree and conduct with, and the holy breath of life, because you're not breathing enough oxygen to restore. So you do Winoff breathing, and you listen to the book Freedom, The Cure of the Human Condition to Save Humanity, from the World Transformation Movement, Jeremy Griffiths, the book Freedom, held by 16,000 scholars in the world, the Holy Grail of Life, DNA, the Book of Life, and our DNA lead says. So I put you for a 40-day fast. Take zinc, iron, magnesium, vitamin C, B12, salicylic salt, and water, lift dose. Drink lots of liquid, don't eat. Get off screens and radio waves and disconnect. Isolate, mind your own business. Isolate from everyone else. Go through 40 days and you break free. Back in your primal state, back in your innocent childhood, and you revise your perception about everything you come to learn. You go through repentancy, and you break from the mentality that controlled you. And that's what controlled your whole life. And then you realize why you were suffering from stress, fear, and anxiety, confusion, frustration, illusion, and paranoia, mental disorders and defects going through the roof. And it's all in the mind. It's all a placebo effect. It's what you believe in, and it's all artificial. So it's all programmed inside the mind. Everything is in the mind, what you believe in. The placebo effect is tensile mind power neurality. When you store your biological fields with your natural process and the natural kinetic, you're clockwise, aura goes clockwise. And when you go through this process, in 40 days, you break free from the demons in your mind. And then your body cells go clockwise and starts a genetic repair kit. And for 3.5 years, you go through a transformation with a genetic repair kit. As you go through a transformation, you cannot explain, but you will understand when you go through this. But you can't explain it. But things come to you out of the blue. Okay? And things will come to you. And you go through a transformation for 3.5 years. And after that 3.5 years, you've done exactly what Christ did for 40 days and faced the demon head on and broke free and woke up from amnesia at 24 years old and discovered who he was. He said, I'm son of David, son of Abraham. And then he went for a transformation for 3.5 years. Then he taught the disciples the same thing for 40 days and took them through a transformation for 3.5 years. And then they could do what he can and more because their boldest ability in DNA was clockwise. No more mental disorders and no more gene defects. And they never told you that. But that's the truth. That's going to set you free. Then they start doing a genetic repair kit. No more mental disorders, no more gene defects. Freedom. And the liberation is sensational. And that's the part they don't tell you. But we bring you through this. We're not breathing. And the book Freedom, the Holy Grail of Life and the Holy Breath of Life. And trust me, this is the great resurrection, the salvation plan. And I save people's souls. I save their spirituality right from their own mentality and their own personality because they're trapped inside the mind by their own personality that tells them whatever they want to believe in. And it sounds heavenly, like Christ's consciousness, but it's only a personality. And you're trapped in a personality to normalize what was more yesterday non-stop and you're so far away from your natural process and your natural abilities with real love and real loyalty, honor, respect, morals, inspiration, and encouragement, the 8 tools of righteousness, and you must use them only, and don't cause people to stumble. Walk with the enemy and work with the enemy. Love thy enemy. Never cause someone to stumble. Help them get back on their feet. Have the greater understanding to know that they do not know what they're doing here. They do not know any better. And when you break free, you understand that. It comes to you automatically. And then realize, my God, I had no idea what I was doing in here. With the biggest IQ and whatever I had to come to know, it didn't matter. That's why you put everything on the shelf that you come to believe in. And you go through this for 40 days and discover yourself and your personality that controls you and why you've been suffering your whole life. It's been the greatest deception ever created with evolution mutation, artificial intelligence by atheism. And we've all been hurt by this, right? With so many defective genes. And this is the cure for everything. This is crossing over, the great crossover, to be in the Christ image and never suffer the consequence of it again, to create heaven and earth in a new era, in a new dimension, where everything's going to be perfect, with 10 times more fruit, with 10 times more nutritive value, because we bear the right fruit. And when we bear the right fruit, we have that kind of relationship with everything, where everything in the fauna, right, grows 10 times more fruit with 10 times more nutritive value, 10 times better oxygen. And that's how we restore the planet, because we have the brain power and the placebo effect with faith to restore nature, because we're collapsing it. We're sending animals around circles around the earth and collapsing fauna by 38 to 90%. And our bacteria is collapsing, our immune system by between 50 and 100%. Mental disorder defects are going through the roof in turbocharge rate. We're going in a 6 mass extinction, slipping the 6th sense for the 6th time. And the end date is the 27th September 227. 2,000 years when Christ was baptized by John. Exactly to the date, 27th September 27. And it's not a fucking joke. People know this. It's a time of the crossover. 220 to 227 is a crossover. It's the last 7 years of the timeline of deception and the first 7 years of the new timeline of sevenfold wisdom and knowledge. And those that think instinctively tune our program, they have a weapon, a bioweapon with their biofields, 27 senses in their 6th sense, in such a way that no weapon put against them can prosper. So you have to be in your spirituality and not in your mentality, in your 6th sense. That's your spirituality, to think outside the mind and control your business from the outside in instead of being controlled from the inside out. And believe me, what I put you through works. Look at the testimonies from my followers going through this. You can see the videos before and after. They're a totally different person in the videos before and after. Before they go through this and after, you'll see they're totally different. And they had the most powerful confirmation in life and the most powerful love and soulmate relationships they never even knew existed. So I take them to the light of the inner tunnel. I take them through every rabbit hole to the light of the inner tunnel. And then they see it and they feel it and they get the confirmation of who I am, why I'm here, and why I'm the one that can save you. In that moment, you'll find out yourself and you'll realize I am the one and only, the one designed for this moment that can take you right out of your vessel and put you through the light of the tunnel where you can see it yourself and get the most powerful confirmation. And then you come back and create heaven and earth and realize who you really are. And then you control your business from the outside in instead of the inside out. Now you go backwards. And when you go backwards instead of forwards, faster into nowhere but you're in extinction. Now you go backwards and repent. You go back in childhood. You do everything backwards. When you go backwards, you go forward. In a time where time sits still and preserves. Where you live every day as your last. With a great sense of humor. And you preserve your DNA for 1,000 years. For 1,000 years and live with the tree of life. With sevenfold wisdom knowledge. To do every single thing that Christ can and more. And believe me, I'm solid living evidence of that. And I'm not the only one. This is a genetic memory process. It's an upgrade in your DNA to go back in a primal state in the way that we were created by Christ, the Father himself, into his image, into be selflessness, back in our primal state where we can do what he can and more with the same genetic memory and the same genetic process. If you choose your correct Father and your correct God, then you go in that genetic process with their ancestor tools. And if you can understand that, what people's been choosing in their mind is not the correct God. And that's why they carry so much gene defects and so many mental disorders from their personalities in that bloodline. They didn't even know that. Well, when you select the right Father and the right God, it'll repair everything. Because the way we develop We're developed in our spirituality by the Father, right? But our mentality and our vessels were created by fallen angels. That's why we go in the 23rd chromosome and follow their footsteps and design that way without even realizing it. We're following the wrong Father's footsteps. And they would pretend they're Christ. And they will sound heavily in the Christ consciousness. They'll lie to you that much. They'll pretend they're Christ in their book smart education, in their Bibles and everything they've written to follow Noah and his family, the naked drunks. They're the Western whites, the Nordic part of the nation of Western European colonization. That took away your universal language so you couldn't make it anymore in 120 years. That took everything away from you. Put your nations with confusion, frustrations you can't overset with mentality. Okay, they put you in ridiculous political cults and New Age cults, right? With atheism, artificial intelligence, and every mutation. They mutate non-stop, these species. They always select their own things with their own grammar and their own parma and all their agendas and all their gay society and all their sex society and all their child sex offenders and their sex apps and their red hair and blue eyes and blue hair and purple hair and all these dysfunctional people, right? All these dysfunctional rainbow people, all these morons, all these actors, robots and zombies, and every American is a gay person and has gay tendency, and they worship the wrong gene. They worship the wrong father. No matter what they say, it's what they follow. The action speaks louder than words, and words mean nothing without the action to back it up. And that's what they don't realize. They think their words mean everything, and their action to back it up is shit. Because they're artificial to the shit house, and they follow Baal. Baal reliability. They're possessed by nefarious to the shit house with an outside influence that controls in reality with AI, alien invasion, and they gave consent in their parasites, and the parasites in all their DNA. They gave consent to nefarious, and they don't believe in it. Well, until they cross over, they'll never be free from the sin in their mind, the hostile entity, the demons in their mind, and they let them control them. They let them suffer, and they let them take them into the extinction because none of these gods have a sixth sense. Only the Father does. He's the Father of spirituality. The rest is just mentality. No matter what they say, they follow the wrong gods. And they're going to learn the hard way. They're going to learn the hard way and go in the abyss for 1,000 years because they didn't listen. Believe me, I'm trying to save every soul I can. The Father loves each and every one of you as if you are the only one. But your soul, not your mentality and not your personality. We can't stand your personality. We can't stand your mentality. But we love your spirit. We love the spirit in people. We love, the compassion, the loyalty, the honor, the respect, the moral, the empathy, the remorse, because that's who you really are. That's your spirituality. That's thinking instinctively. That's thinking outside the mind, not with a fucking reptilian mind, reptilian mentality to make an actor and a Hollywood spinner and a Hollywood character. Look at all these idiots in America. Look at the way they fucking are. They're all artificial all over the world. They're not human. They're transhumans going into zombie apocalypse mentality. They got no spirituality. None whatsoever. And that's their decision that becomes their judgment in 98.7% that has not crossed over and has not gone through the rebirth and has not gone back in their primal state. And that's the facts of life with DNA, the book of life.